Hello, everyone, and welcome to Encryption as a Service, key to ensuring cloud security and compliance. My name is William Bell, Executive Vice President of Products at Pnap, and today I've got Nishank Vish, Senior Product Manager at Fortanix, and Rob Lee, VP of Partnerships. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you.
All right. So everyone, I really hope that the content we prepared today is valuable for either yourself in the work that you're doing internally, or if you are looking at solutions like this, hopefully we present something that is tangible and can provide value to your organization. I'm going to get things kicked off with a couple quick poll questions. I like to do these so that I can get an idea of who's on the call, hopefully tailor our presentation to really kind of, make sense for everybody in their own specific way. So I'm gonna give that a second here. Hopefully we can get some high turnout on the vote. Let's get to 50%. All right. Looks like we got a pretty diverse crowd today. 55% plus in information technology, about 20% business finance, and 25% education. So, I think that really when we talk about encryption, it's one of those things that I feel like can be for everybody, right? Depending on your business, your actual business need. It's not always vertical specific, but we do see a lot of gravitation in various areas, specifically finance, education, healthcare, and then information technology organizations that are supporting these verticals. I think there's a lot of value to the topics that we're going to discuss today. I'm gonna go ahead and close that poll down. I'm gonna pop one more up here and just try to gauge the size of the organizations, whether if it's the size of your company or the companies that you're working with, if you're an MSP or you're some type of technology advisor on the call, that would be helpful for me. Well, let's see if I can build out the rest of the slide there. There we go. Up to 100, 500, 1,000, or more than 1,000. All right. Thank you, everyone, for turning out the vote. 50+% always valid. And I think, we are going to be talking a lot about enterprise use cases, but we've got some really special integrations that we're going to touch on today as well that's going to fit for that SMB customer looking for cloud adoption and that full suite of capabilities from a single cloud provider. But as is customary for all Pnap presentations, we are going to start with education. We're going to start education around encryption and why it's important to organizations around the globe. It all starts essentially with improving data security and confidentiality of the data. Growing part of that is becoming privacy, especially in the healthcare arena. Privacy. Consumers and businesses are starting to be more conscious of how they're interacting with people's data and the data that they're storing, and you need a highly secure way of holding that data. I think that a lot of these that are on this list are all valid. They're all very industry specific in some cases, but specifically, we all know that data needs to be encrypted. The key to that is how are you accomplishing those tasks? How are you managing that encryption everywhere that you put data, which can be super challenging? And when you're working with data, how are you managing exactly what, how you're handling that data in a way that can keep it secure while you're working with it? And we're going to talk kind of through all of those segments of encryption and data protection. So when we look at the analyst coverage around encryption, I think that the things that show up on this list are probably what everybody thinks of when they think of encryption, right? Encrypting database entries, encrypting telecommunications, internal networks and laptop hard drives. Like, these are the basics of what people expect to be encrypted, but what we're finding now is even those basics are underserved. If you look at some of these organizations saying they have full encryption on all of their internet communications, only 63%. Right? When you look at backups and archives, like I think with the rise of ransomware, this is one of the most shocking things to me, is how many people aren't protecting their backup data and archive data from being manipulated. And it isn't to say that, you know, you can encrypting your backups prevent ransomware from encrypting those backups again, but it is to say that you're actively taking steps to protect your backup data and archival data. And if you are doing that in tandem with data protection, I expect that you're doing encryption. And so this is good. But if you look on the right side, you look at the things that are also listed as additional use cases. I think that some of these components, some of these use cases are going to be driving the future of encryption, right? And we're going to be asking questions about all of these areas as we continue kind of pushing towards cloud first or cloud ready adoption of infrastructure. So something to keep an eye on. And honestly, not to say that what we're going to talk about today doesn't help with things like databases and archives and stuff like that, but most of the use cases we're going to talk today are about critical infrastructure, and that critical infrastructure and applications tend to fall on these additional use cases side. So when you look at the work that Panamon's done, you know, when you start to do encryption everywhere and you build out this encryption management policy and procedure for your organization, it doesn't always mean it's easy. And I think that that is, you know, where solutions like we're going to talk about today really start to shine. How do I make sure I encrypt, validate that encryption, and easily manage that encryption anywhere my data is located? That can help alleviate some of the pain that respondents of the survey talk about. And when I look at traditional enterprise key management tools that I personally have used over the years, and I'm not going to lay any vendors out to bear here, but not to say that they didn't have great solutions at the time. And we've kind of gone through this huge transition of, you know, really a lockdown kind of encryption appliances to something more software with maybe like a USB key or something like that, to cloud ready encryption as a service. And I think that that's really where we see the market going, and where we hope that as Pnap and our partners with Fortanix can provide value for any user that's looking to address some of these things. I think one of the most critical components to what we're talking about is that today is that all encryption is not the same, all cryptography management is not the same. And if you aren't leveraging hardware security modules as part of your encryption you know, implementation, you are missing, you are potentially leaving yourself vulnerable to certain types of attacks, and some of the more common attacks that can compromise those encryption keys. And it is to say, to some extent, that you don't want to just stop short of that level of protection, because it can mean yes or no to, is my data encrypted in a way, are my keys safe in such a way that you know, this data is not going to be accessible. And that can mean a lot to you as an organization from a tangible example perspective, and say you have to be able, in a lot of cases, if you suffer some type of data breach and you're going to use encryption as a I guess the best way I can put it, as a pass for why you don't have to do certain types of breach notification, there is an expectation that you are going to have done all the due diligence necessary to make sure that that data is secure. And only reasonable implementations of encryption and cryptography are accepted in those examples, in order to some extent indemnify yourself from having to take on some of that additional workload. So when you look at why this can be complex. It's all over the place, right? And it depends on the user and what they're doing with encryption. And I think that that is one of the things that we think Fortanix has solved so well, and why we're so excited about this partnership is they, as we talk about this solution, it's truly a Swiss Army knife. It's truly has the capability of integrating with every facet of your organization to help you better manage encryption keys, secrets, and sensitive data, and build it into your applications so that you can have a consistent way of performing that activity day in and day out. So, when we look at this and we look at organizations just trying to get implemented, and even talking to Fortanix about their customer implementations, buying, integrating, configuring, and delivering encryption, no matter how modern the solution is, can be a barrier. And so when you're looking at technologies like what we're building in this partnership, we're trying to break down some of those barriers and really deliver quick consumption, time to implementation of cryptography and encryption management. And I think that that is one of the key value points, along with, we're going to talk more about this, but along with the operational consumption, the pay for what you use, all of these things are important to driving value into organization versus just going out, doing a vendor selection criteria, picking some vendor that does HSM-backed key management, and having to go through this process, spend all this money. And once you've done that, we see things like data discovery and data classification slowing down implementation. And a lot of times you see all of those things done up front, which can slow time to implementation or selection of a product to bring on-prem, because you want to make sure you're going to get the full value out of it, versus finding a use case, getting it working, and then expanding your use cases as you go, which everyone is starting to become more familiar with as they adopt cloud services. So I think there's a lot of cool value points in this kind of encryption as a service construct. And so when you think about what you need to accomplish, whether you're looking at the solution that we're talking about today, or you're looking at doing all this yourself, right? This is what we believe is going to put you in the driver's seat to making a good decision for why you should, partner with a vendor, why you should implement these capabilities in your environment. And I think that as you go to implement it, if you're not considering all of these capabilities, how flexible is it? How well can it be integrated with? How easy is it to provide availability for this system, i.e. make sure it stays up all the time so that your applications can interface with it? How are you protecting yourself from a disaster or some type of disastrous event? How truly secure is that data that I'm going to be storing there, whether it's just keys or maybe in the future, actual bits of data that are highly sensitive? How much do you trust that, right, in this implementation? And then I think the one that we're not going to spend a ton of time today, but trust me, there's going to be more webinars on this topic coming, is the confidential computing aspect, in terms of when I go to work with this data, when I actually go to use it, how do I make sure that it stays secure? And I think that that is the most challenging use case for sure. And it's something that the service that we've worked with Fortanix on is capable of handling and delivering today, specifically post the next generation of Intel processors that are coming out, and some key capabilities that will be delivered as part of that. And then the ever-present compliance. You have to wrap that compliance around everything you do. You've got to make sure that the system you're using can build that evidence set for you and your internal audit teams, and you can actually get the proof in the hands of the people that require it to say that this is what I'm doing, this is how I handle my encryption keys, this is how I handle my sensitive data, and it meets all the criteria that you've established inside of your compliance framework. So moving to the next one. And so as part of this, I talked a little bit about how we're gonna show some things. We're gonna talk about some solutions that we're gonna be delivering with Fortanix that will meet that enterprise use case and just a myriad of different use cases. But today, where we've started is we have built this capability to encrypt sensitive data into our data security cloud product. And we're taking that security to the next level by backing it with a, HSM FIPS validated encryption capability that will allow anyone that moves their critical application into our compliance and security focused hosted cloud service that we call Data Security Cloud to, depending on the tier of the package that you select, to be able to encrypt all of the data that it resides inside that environment with keys that the cloud provider, Pnap, doesn't have access to. And that type of cloud provider security is super essential. It is going to become a requirement, I think, over the next 5 years for any type of cloud provider to provide a high level of assurance that they are not the critical vulnerability that you could potentially suffer in some type of issue if it were to arise. And so this is not a DSC presentation. We've got other things you can come talk to us about what that looks like. But with Data Security Cloud, this is the place for that SMB or medium enterprise to move their workload, their critical compliance-focused workload into a hosted cloud service, get this encryption as a service capability and a ton of other things. And actually, Nishank is going to show us something in his demo at the end, how we're actually going to work really hard to tie in this full suite of encryption as a service, which we call the Pnap Encryption Management Platform, into Data Security Cloud so that the customers of DSC have a very turnkey consumption model as they go to build more security capabilities into their environment. All right, and I am going to pass it over to Rob, I believe here, and he's going to talk a little bit about Fortanix as a whole, and then we'll shift over to the demo with Nishank. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you, William. Thanks for everyone joining today. This is a great opportunity for Fortanix to partner with Pnap in terms of just security in general. As you could read here, we've spent a lot of time and energy in making sure that we provide the best level of security for any customer using this platform. There isn't proprietary hardware like other HSM vendors. You have full control over all your certificates through our KMS system. And, the most important thing, again, and the value of this partnership is the integrated security of what we're doing with Pnap's data security cloud infrastructure. So, there's always questions about what's the magic behind our technology. And at a high level, what we do is decouple data security from the infrastructure. And what that means is we're leveraging Intel's SGX capabilities within their chips, which creates these secure enclaves, which separates these applications from other applications that might be running on the same processor, but also separates it from the OS and the hypervisor. So you are absolutely secure, and this is technology that Pnap is using within its cloud. So there's this ability to isolate it from the infrastructure in protecting data and apps while it's in use. So this is a term that we coined runtime encryption, because most security platforms will security data in transit or data at rest, but there's very few things, if any, except for us, that can actually protect the data while it's in use in the app. The other use case, which we'd love to see our customers use it for, is, if you have the solution within the Phoenix Pnap data security cloud. Sorry about that, William. What you can do is actually use this as a means to do multi-cloud management. So if you have workloads running on Azure, Amazon, or Google, you can use Phoenix Pnap's data security cloud really as that single point of audit. So it allows you to manage your keys within a very secure environment versus having all your keys in the same environment that you have your cloud in. So there's a huge value from an auditing standpoint when you're dealing in heavily compliance areas like healthcare and financial services to have something separate. And that creates that separation that's much needed. And as everyone's moving into modern ways of developing their product offerings as well as their services, we are very, very much so leveraging all those cloud-friendly APIs, RESTful interfaces, and it's ready for secrets if you're using Hashi, Vault, or things of that nature. We have integrations with that as well. So to integrate our platform into other platforms is pretty straightforward. As I mentioned before, we secure data throughout the lifecycle, whether it's data at rest, in the traditional ways of using HSM services or tokenization, where you actually have data in motion moving from one cloud to another, or maybe one VM to another. We're managing those certificates, public key infrastructure, and things of that nature. But most importantly, again, because we're using the Intel SGX technology, we can really protect your data while it's in use. And that's going to be key, especially when you're in a VMware environment. Having that security is going to be a huge plus for you, and be able to show that to auditors and be able to meet compliance issues that you might have. We're seeing a lot of uptick in interest within the healthcare industry. We see this as a great way to kind of protect the vital personal information that you might have while you're doing some analytics and things of that nature. So this is really kind of geared for the new world order that we're living in post-pandemic, where most of these healthcare institutions need to share information in a confidential way. But I could talk all day long about the platform, but I think more importantly, I think everyone wants to see how this platform works. So I'm going to hand it back to William, who's going to work with Nishank and show us a demo.
Thanks so much, Rob. And before we get into the demo, I really wanted to take a moment to talk about kind of where we're at today. So we have this built into our data security cloud product. We're working hard to make this accessible to anyone that needs it, essentially. So even if you have non-Pnap infrastructure, we are working hard to deliver this capability as a service. We are starting to work with some pilot customers. If you have a use case that you think could be really interesting or could provide significant value, I do urge you to reach out. And Nishank's going to show you kind of the full gamut today, right? He's going to show you what the platform looks like inside, a little bit of how Phoenix Pnap has done some encryption things on the back end, possibly how you could also use it in your own VMware environment. If you have a VMware environment on-prem and you just want to use this service to do encryption, we have some capabilities around that today. And then he's going to close it off with not only a quick vCloud Director integration, show and tell, but also a new plugin that they're working on. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Nishank and let him take control and get this demo.
Thanks, William. Let me share my screen. All right, so in this demo, we will see the overview of Photanix self-defending KMS. So basically, this is the service hosted by Phoenix Pnap Data Security Cloud Service. And this is built-in service inside DSC. So if you are a tenant opting for this service, you will get Photanix self-defending KMS as a full-featured product. So let's see how this works. So if you are a tenant within the data security cloud and you have opted for Photanix self-defending KMS, so each tenant will get their own login through a web UI. So for example, assume that this is the link which is hosted by Pnap. And when you enter your login in the Photanix self-defending KMS, all the accounts will be set up by Pnap. Like in this case, assume that you are a tenant called Mercury Inc. You just need to simply accept your account, and you can just go inside your account and start doing the encryption. You can start using the encryption. So just to give you an overview, so this is the dashboard. It's very intuitive, very easy to use. So in this, you can create your security objects. And by security objects, I mean you can create your keys, you can create your tokens. Basically, we support format preserving tokenization. You can also create your secrets, and like so basically so you have all these three products unified into a single product called Photonics self-defending KMS. And we also have built-in HSM. So we are FIPS 140-2 level 3 certified. So all your keys, all your tokens, all your secrets are stored inside an HSM every time. So they do not leave the HSM. So you have you have the full security and compliance as far as the FIPS is concerned. So in this platform, you can do various use cases. You can do database encryption. So if you have Oracle SQL or say Microsoft SQL, you can encrypt that. If you're using like storage from like different vendors, if you're using primary storage or a backup storage, you can encrypt that as long as that vendor supports KMAP protocol. So that is basically the protocol with which you talk to an external key manager. And you can do VM encryption, you can do app level encryption, and there are like endless use cases which you can do. So for this demo, let's start with VM encryption, like how we can actually do the encryption. So in this demo, assume a situation that you are a tenant and you have your own VM stack on-prem, and you can configure this self-defending KMS on your vCenter, and you can do the encryption. So let's see how we can do that. So you just go to a group. So group is basically a collection of all the security objects, all the users who are part of this particular group. You can simply create a group. In this case, let's call it vSphere, since we are using it for VM encryption. So we'll just create a vSphere demo group. And then within the group, we will create something called an app. So here the app is basically a sort of a mechanism how you authenticate Photonics self-defending KMS to your vCenter environment. So we will just create an app. We can name it anything. In this case, we'll name it vSphere app. And we will use an authentication method. In this case, it will be an API key. As you can see, it's very easy to use. It's very intuitive. Like it's just like a few click of buttons. So we have the app created now. Now we will go to our vCenter. So if you go to the key management side on the vCenter, you have an option to configure a KMS. So we will just create a new KMS cluster. So we can name it as SDKMS. You can provide an alias to it, and then we provide the server address. So server address is basically your web address, which is provided by Pnap for Photonics self-defending KMS. For this demo, we will use our test environment. And then the server port is 5696. So 5696 is a standard server port we use for KMAP interface. So basically, VM encryption is done using KMAP interface, and then we just provide the username and password. So username is password. You can get it from your Photonics app, which we just created. You can simply go to username and password. You can copy these credentials, and then you can just configure it. So it's pretty standard process. It's very easy to use. You can set up your vCenter within 5 minutes. So we just configure this, and then we just make the trust between the KMS and vCenter. So we are just establishing a trust through a certificate. You can simply create that, and that's it. And now we are ready to use this service. So to do any VM encryption, you can simply go to any VM on your VMware environment, and you can simply change the policy of your storage policy, your VM encryption storage policy to VM encryption policy. That's it. And now your VMs are now encrypted, and your keys are securely stored inside Photanix self-defending KMS. Now, if you go to the app, you can see all the audit trails we have, like when this app authenticated with VMware and when the key was created. Everything you have, all the centralized audit log in your product. And you can see a new key has been created. If you go to the security object tab, you can see a new key has been created from the VMware side using KMap protocol. So this is the this key is created automatically through VMware. So just to note here, so this configuration step is done if you have your own vCenter, but in case you are using a shared vCenter, all this configuration is done by PhoenixNAP. Don't need to do anything. All you need to do is you can simply go to your data security cloud. You can click on your VMs. You can simply change the storage policy to VM encryption policy, and that's it. So it's probably just a couple of clicks, and you have the full capability of VM encryption on your data security cloud. Now we are going to show how we closely integrate with vCloud Director. So say if you are a tenant, say in this case, let's use let's create a tenant called Starship. We can simply log in to this. As you see, this is your tenant portal, which is hosted by PhoenixNAP. So PhoenixNAP in this case is the cloud provider, of course, and they actually provision a Photanix self-defending KMS to your tenant vCloud Director account. And it is as simple as clicking a button. You can simply go to more, and you will have this Photanix self-defending KMS plugin, which we already have the integration. So basically, PhoenixNAP just exposes this Photanix self-defending KMS to a particular tenant in vCloud Director. You can simply click on that, and then you enter the same web portal which I earlier showed. So you have this account set up already, and you don't need to re-log in here because we already have the integration. So it's just one-click access. So as you can see, so this integration also has full capabilities. You can create groups, you can create keys, etc. Now let's see like other capabilities of creating a key. So you create a group, and then you can create a security object. So you can simply name a security object. Let's say in this case, let's create an RSA key. We select a group and we generate a new key. So we have lots of options. You can create AES key, RSA key. You can import your secrets. You can create a token for tokenization, etc. So we support wide range of environments. And as you can see, you can define what operations that particular key can do. You can do encrypt, decrypt. You can do verify, sign. You can also export that particular security object. So it's very much everything to do with the UI. Also, you can do the similar things through our SDKMS CLI as well. So in case you don't prefer the UI, the developers can also use our command line interface. So here it's very simple to create a security object. We also support a full lifecycle key management of a security object. Like for example, you can do key rotation. You can set your timer to rotate a key. For example, you can rotate it every, say, 7 days. You can rotate it every 30 days. It's all up to you. It's very customized product, and you can do whatever your use case is required. So, and you can also deactivate the key in case you feel that you don't need the key. You can deactivate the key. You can also delete the security object. So it's all built in. That's it. And if you want to if you want to use this particular key for an application, you can simply create a new app, and then you can link the key to this particular application, and whatever use case you need, you can utilize it. That's it.
Perfect.
Back to you, William.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nishank, for everything. I'm going to switch it back over to myself here. As everyone was able to see, we're trying to make this truly easy for the end user so that they, can create these capabilities, create and manage encryption from a centralized place, use it everywhere. Rob talked about multi-cloud key management. It's important to organizations. It's important to Pnap, right? We know that we're not positioning our company or portfolio of infrastructure products to be the end all be all of people's cloud consumption. It is a multi-cloud world, right? And we're trying to set up all of our capabilities so that you can leverage the things you need from Pnap and any other cloud provider while maintaining security and availability of your data in a centralized, compliant, and auditable way. So I think that's kind of the full capstone of the whys and the hows. We talked through a lot of this. I think it's important to remember that starting right now, data security cloud customers can begin to encrypt their VMs optionally. If you're an Essentials customer, there's a small upcharge. If you're an advanced tier customer, it's included in your package. We are going to be delivering the full capabilities of the Fortanix product in short order. So if you are not leveraging Data Security Cloud, you're a colo customer, or you're not a Pnap customer at all, we are going to have the ability for you to consume this product as a service in an OpEx fashion, in a cloudy model that I think is going to make sense to a lot of organizations, and actually do it with real security as the foundation of the platform, right? And I think that that's one of the key differences to things like AWS, KMS, or something like that. The ability for you to use it for multiple clouds at the same time, to get HSM-backed data storage, and very soon, new capabilities that you probably haven't even thought of yet around confidential computing. This will be that one-stop shop for that capability. And I'm really excited to have the Fortanix team, their investors at Intel, everybody rallying around this idea of enhanced cryptography and confidential computing. So real quickly, for those of you that aren't familiar with Pnap, I know that some of you on the call don't do business with us today. We have built a global infrastructure platform, and we're delivering services across the VMware ecosystem, the data center and infrastructure ecosystem, most recently this on-demand consumption of bare metal cloud. I think that there's something for everyone, but I want to reiterate that we're building these capabilities around encryption for everybody, even somebody that isn't leveraging the Phoenix Snap infrastructure solutions. And we're going to work hard over the next 3 years to make sure that all of our solutions have a tie-in to this platform so that customers, at least optionally, can get serious data security upgrades to any of our product sets, and kind of provide that platform. So, I'll kind of leave it there. I know that there's been some questions kind of flowing in, and I'm going to launch this last poll question right here before we get into the actual Q&A. My marketing team loves this question, so if you have any more questions, please click the you want to talk to somebody button here. I'm happy to make sure that it's not a sales conversation, that it is a solution conversation. Whether you like what we're talking about and you think maybe you want to do it yourself with Fortanix, I know that they'd be happy to work with you. Or you just want to talk more about capabilities and the technology, we're more than happy to have that conversation with anyone who wants to do that. And then with that, I will actually begin to kind of jump into questions here. All right. Okay. Let's see, there was a lot of questions, so I'm gonna try to get through them as quickly as possible. I'm gonna shut down this poll question here and move to our last slide. And Robin, Nishank, if you want to jump back on the webcam, I will let you answer some of these as well. Somebody asked about a copy of the webinar. Absolutely, we'll provide that by email. And we have some capabilities coming that will you'll be able to find all this data on our website as well. Someone asked how the product is different than SafeNet Trusted Access, Nishank. I don't know. There's a little bit of a difference between identity management and encryption management, but maybe you can kind of compare and contrast that for us.
Yeah, so with SafeNet, like you have different products for identity management. You have for HSM, you have different product for key management, that is key secure. But in this case, you have everything all together built inside a single product. So yeah, you have like tokenization, you have key management, you have HSM, you have secrets management built into a unified product. So that is how we differentiate from our partners, and you don't need to buy separate services. So it's all built in. So yeah, that is the competitive advantage we have over other products.
Absolutely. So somebody asked, do we provide easy access to VMs in the cloud for people to RDP into? 100%. We're an infrastructure as a service company. So if you want to provide RDS gateway services or something like that, and drive a Windows kind of desktop experience, we have customers that do that. If it is all on demand, you can spin up VMs, you can publish applications, kind of everything's there for you. We have a huge array of backup and disaster recovery products that involve our hosted cloud service and some that don't, right? So it's a pretty big portfolio of solutions around that. So if you have any interest around backup, disaster recovery, hosted cloud, specifics to data security cloud, our teams can jump on the phone, kind of walk you through the different solutions and why people look at that. Nalit asked about pricing model. Essentially today, the integration we have today, if you're a data security cloud customer and you want to upgrade, it's $9 a VM per month to provide that encrypted VM. If you're an advanced tier customer, it's included. As we move into delivering the full encryption as a service capability, we call it Pnap Encryption Management Platform. Essentially, what we're looking at will be a consumption model for number of transactions of the data, how often you're accessing keys, how often you're generating tokens, and we'll be delivering that model basically on a monthly service. So usually a 1-year contract minimum with an established floor of some type of bundle of capabilities, and then just kind of a pay as you grow from there. So that's what it'll look like. And I think from an entry point perspective, it's very attractive, right? If you go look at HSM-backed encryption management, services and solutions out there, it's typically a 6-figure per year type of deployment, right? And what we're focusing with organizations on, not only are we driving that capability down to smaller organizations that might not have the budget for something like that, but they have a very serious need, we're also allowing customers to grow into their consumption of this type of service. Instead of bringing in something in-house, having to pay for all of it immediately, and then hoping to realize that value over the life of their investment in that technology. The goal here is that you can get started at kind of a low minimum, and then bring that spend in line with your utility of the platform. So I think that's a pretty powerful use case for anybody that's in healthcare, that's in financial services, that's exposed to intense regulation and has to do these things anyway. I think that it can be a really cost-effective approach to bringing that in. And we'll reach out if you indicated that you want to talk to somebody. We'll reach out between Fortanix and Pnap. We're able to provide some significant kind of points of reference as to how it's been valuable for other organizations. And so in any type of very specific solution that you want to walk through, I think that's it. I want to re-stress, if anybody has a VMware environment on-prem today that you're just looking to kind of upgrade into encryption and have some type of centralized key management for that VMware encryption capability, we are working with a few customers right now to see if we can make a very cost-effective solution for doing that. That's going to give you a huge upgrade to your environment. It can be a very small use case, but I think that for you and for us, it's helpful for someone to get started somewhere, right? Because once you recognize the value of the platform and what it can do and the number of ways that you can integrate with it, it can make your head spin a little bit, but you really start to kind of just dream up new ways to use the service. I know that that's true for us, right? As we continue to implement this for other people, what we're finding is all of these areas inside of our own platform that we can leverage the capabilities to enhance our own services that aren't even related to encryption as a service, right? And so we're working with the team at Fortanix to really kind of drive a lot of that home, and stuff we're not doing today, but I can kind of guide out there is we are looking at ways to really expand on this confidential computing. So if you are in healthcare business, it's such a burgeoning area of trying to do privacy controls around multiple organizations. The concept's called multi-party confidential computing, but multiple organizations trying to leverage the same data, but one organization doesn't have access to understand everything about that data set. There are some unique ways that we're working with customers to try to enable that. And then the other one would be around our bare metal cloud product. We're hoping to be able to deliver system level encryption as an integrated service in the next couple of quarters. So that's some ways that we're looking at enhancing our own services, and hopefully these examples can prove valuable to you guys. I think that's all the questions we had. Rob, Nishank, thank you so much for taking the time today. I hope everybody really enjoyed this. If you have anything you want to talk about, please reach out. And for those of you that indicated you would like somebody to reach out to you, trust that we will do that, and we will have the conversation that you want to have. All right. So hope everybody has a great day. Stay safe, and we'll see you all very soon. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.